Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another very interesting, probably fairly short knife review to share with you guys. This is a fixed blade, which is not something I normally do on this channel, but I do periodically. This is the MBK Fieldtrekker. I know a lot of people have been asking me about this when I'm going to review it, because I keep showing it off on live streams because it's beautiful. This is a really good looking fixed blade. Yeah, I'm going to share with you guys my thoughts today. This was sent to me by @AbbyNormal1969, Abby_normal_1969 on Instagram. Please give them a follow. They've sent knives many times to the channel, so thank you very much. Give them a follow. It's because of them, people like them, I'm able to bring you guys daily knife content. It's also because of my generous patrons. Thanks so much for supporting me. You can find a link for Patreon down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. We're going to go ahead and get a measurement of this guy. By the way, where can you get it? As far as I know, the only place that you could pick this up was on the MBK or Monterey Bay Knives website. I do not know if it's still available. If it's not, I don't know if they're going to do it again. I just want to share this with you guys and give you guys my thoughts. I've had it for a little bit now. Overall length of the Fieldtrekker coming in at 8.5 inches. Yeah, 8.5. Blade length is coming in just a hair over 4 inches. Cutting edge is coming in at about 3.75. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. I don't have a lot of fixed blades. I'm not really a fixed blade channel. I'm a tabletop overview / review folding knife channel for the most part. So people who are big into fixed blades and bushcraft, you might not get a whole lot from this, but I'm going to, treat this the same way that I do any other knife that comes on the channel. Here it is up against the More Robust, or the More Robust, because I never pronounced the entire word correctly. So there you go. Let's go ahead and put it up against some folding knives, the Ontario Rat Model 1 and Rat Model 2, so you can see that it's obviously a bigger knife. Not a massive fixed blade, though. Truthfully, I mean, in the world of fixed blades, I would say this is probably on the smaller end. Fixed blade people can share their thoughts down below. Up against the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3, once again, larger than both and definitely more cutting edge. And last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue. And its little, well, it's not its little brother, but a smaller Benchmade here, the Benchmade Bug Out. We'll go ahead and I'll just give, it doesn't make sense because carry profile on this thing is going to be different because it's a fixed blade, but thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3, you can see there, it's really not that thick. Generally, fixed blades are, I would say, not generally, but a lot of fixed blades are going to be thicker than folding knives. The standard that I always use is the Para 3, so there you go. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness here. The calipers, there they are. I've been putting them to my right so that I don't have to search all over the place. I'm going to guess this is probably 165 to 180 thousandths. Yeah, in fact, it says 160 thousandths there, so that's about what I expect for a fixed blade. So this is a like a polished burlap micarta, and then once the steel, this is CPM 3V, and it's a convex grind, which is really interesting. Instead of, you have your conventional V grind, then you have your hollow grind, and then you have your convex grind. So the edge is going to be really strong. This is something that apparently, and it makes sense, right? Just from just looking at it and just because of the geometry, it adds strength to the cutting edge. It also is going to make it a lot easier to just strop up. I don't have any experience sharpening a convex edge. In fact, my experience with sharpening is pretty basic and limited. I use a KME sharpener, so it's on an angle. That's not something you're going to be able to do. Like if that's how you normally sharpen your blades, then it's not going to work with this. But I do have a Rockstead Higo 2 that has the exact, well, it's not exact, but it's a convex edge. And I found that, after using it for a while, stropping it back up is super simple, despite that thing being ridiculously hard. The Rockwell on it is like 67, 68. They strop up really easily because of how it's contoured. So I would imagine, given that 3V is going to be a bit easier to do that with, as long as you're not pounding this into nails or something like that, you're probably going to have a pretty good experience. If you have more experience sharpening, knives with convex edges, then yeah, you're probably going to be good to go. But that's what you're looking at here. I think that's pretty cool. Let's see. There's no reason to do a hardware check. These look like T8. Honestly, they look like T8 screws. Weight on this guy, we'll weigh it with and without the sheath. So first up, without the sheath, we are coming in at 5.78 ounces, which I don't think is bad at all. Yes, we will talk about this sheath. It's beautiful. With the sheath, we are looking at 8.32 ounces. So there you go. What's next? Is there anything else that we really can do as far? Not really. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Wow, this is beautiful. Some people don't like boring blades, but a lot of times, you know, with simplicity comes maximum utility, right? This is a straightforward handle design and blade design. It's kind of been time tested, right? There's a lot of knives that look like this, and it's because it works. You want a handle that's going to fill the hand out, that's going to provide confidence, because this is definitely an outdoor hard use cutting tool, right? Bushcraft style knife. Wide variety of different things that you can do with it for sure. The likes of which I'm not going to be able to give you examples of, because it's not normally what I do. I'm not somebody who goes camping and hiking and hunting and all that stuff all the time. But I could imagine that somebody who does do stuff like that is going to make fantastic use of this. These are nice and polished, and while it does create for a more slippery surface, because of the contouring and because of the thickness of the handle and just the open landscape, I guess, of the handle, it's really, really, I mean, it's just about a perfect experience, right? It doesn't need to have like these scallops for your individual fingers or anything like that. You're going to be able to hold on to it, right? It's very, very comfortable. Using something like this over time for continuous cutting, right? You're outside, probably wood. Yeah, you're gonna be, you know, in good shape. You can wear gloves. Obviously, that's generally what you're gonna want to do if you're gonna be using any tool for an extended period of time. But even without gloves, oh my gosh, is it comfortable? I would say there's no change that I would make to this. Partially because I wouldn't know what change to make, because I don't generally take a fixed blade out and use it for, you know, examples that I used earlier in the review. But gosh, imagining it, yeah, this is ridiculously comfortable. There's a nice area up here that keeps you from sliding up on the blade. There's no jimping or anything like that, but I don't necessarily think that it needs it. It's just beautiful. There's a little lanyard hole back here, which makes way more sense on a fixed blade to me. I generally joke about knives having lanyard holes. On pocket knives, I just hate it, but that's personally because I don't use it. But on a fixed blade, I could imagine why somebody might want to add a lanyard of some sort. This sheath, holy cow. I am even less of a sheath person than I am a fixed blade person, but I don't think it takes I don't think it takes a trained eye to know that this is a beautiful sheath. It's also, as far as I can tell, ridiculously high quality. Really good retention. You can see right down there where it's squeezing basically the last part of the knife that's thick, the handle. Yeah, it's there's tension actually starting from about right here. And then the further you push, the more tension. This is great. It's not going anywhere. There's no area for drainage or anything like that, and it's leather. Some moisture can get trapped, which isn't necessarily good because we're looking at 3V, and 3V is definitely not a stainless steel. But, okay, clean your blades off right. People who pick stuff up like this probably know the do's and don'ts of stainless and non-stainless steels, right? There's a nice loop back here you can fit a belt through. This is just gorgeous. The presentation of the knife in the sheath and out of the sheath, everything is just so beautiful. For those of you wondering, MBK Monterey Bay knives, and by the way, this is designed by Ray Laconico. You probably saw that, and if you didn't see it, you probably could tell by the shape of the blade. Ray Laconico likes that really simplistic aesthetic, which I actually also like. That's something that I very much enjoy in folding knives and fixed blades alike. What was I about to say? Oh, these are not made in the United States. They are made in China. Do with that information what you will. But either way, extremely beautiful. Let's take a look at the blade. I always talk about being bored of satin finishes, and I am. This is an exception. This is not a mirror finish, but it's a super high polished finish. If every satin blade that I ever complained about, right? Like here's an example of a satin finish I'm just bored to death of, right? If the PM2 looked like this, oh yeah, I'd take that over a tumbled finish, which is my go-to. That is gorgeous. That looks so good. No complaints. Up here on the spine, everything's knocked down. The edge is amazingly sharp. I mean, generally, you know, when you change the angle, it depends. The whole geometry plays a role in it, right? But I expect it to feel less than a laser beam at the edge with a convex grind, but that is not the case here. This is super sharp. And with that added strength comes edge stability. When you're talking about 3V, you have an ultra tough composition to begin with and pretty darn good edge retention, considering the rest of the composition. These are apparently hardened to 60 Rockwell, which is great. So you've got an edge that's going to hang on for a long time. You have a super tough edge with the combination of 3V and the convex grind, and it should be pretty easy to, strop up. I would imagine that that's why the bushcraft community is so heavy on 3V convex grinds, because everything that they do, right, it's made easier by the combination of those two things. So, gosh, the blade seems just about perfect. This is one of those knives that was purpose designed and purpose built, and it just hits every nail on the head. Yeah, it's not quite a long enough blade for every conceivable task, but for, I would guess, 95% of what you would do, save for batoning pieces of wood that are thicker or maybe slightly thinner, or the width of them is slightly less than the blade, right? This is probably going to do it. I think the blade is incredible, and the fit and finish on everything all the way around is just awesome. There's a nice sharpening choil there. Sure, the people who are going to tackle that type of task will make use of that. Transition between the scales and the tang, which, by the way, this is, of course, full tang, is just perfect. I mean, again, it's 3 pieces of material with 4 screws in it, right? So it's not like there's a whole lot to tackle in the fit and finish department, but everything is just perfect. Everything is beautiful on this knife. I snoozed on this, and I shouldn't have. The last time I checked, they didn't have any in stock. Again, I don't know if they're coming back or not. I should have picked this up. It's not often that a fixed blade, as a knife enthusiast, remember guys, I'm a knife reviewer, and I definitely do take my knives out and use them, but not extensively enough that I can give you every last bit of information that you could possibly need for every conceivable circumstance, for every, different type of knife, right? As a knife enthusiast, I can tell you this appeals to me as a fixed blade. It's really rare. This is the type of thing that I want to have in my collection, that I want to hold and enjoy and also take out and use. I don't think I'd be afraid to use something like this. I mean, I have knives that are substantially more expensive that I take out and use, so it's not really about price. Sometimes, things that are beautiful, whether they cost a lot of money or not, sometimes it makes people hesitant. This would make me want to take it out and use it. Another thing that I appreciate considering 3V is, once again, not stainless. If you're not familiar with 3V, it's like, you take it outside for a couple of minutes and it's corrupt. Not really that bad, right? But if you get it wet, you got to clean it off. You got to, make sure that you keep it oiled, right? That's the kind of thing that you have to do. But that polish on there does add, not a lot, but a little bit of extra resistance. The higher the polish on the steel, the better it's going to be at, the composition, the better the composition is going to be at resisting corrosion, right? So that's something that's nice. I think, for a lot of people, this is kind of like a perfect fixed blade. It's not going to be the very best fixed blade for every circumstance. Let me stress that. But for a lot of people, I would imagine people who have substantially more experience than me, I don't want to speak for them, but I would venture to guess, if you went down in the comment section and, read from people who are, much more into this bushcraft world than I am, just from what I've read and what I've observed, I'm going to guess that this speaks to those people as a tool really, really well. And for people who are just enthusiasts, or maybe hybridizations of enthusiast, collector, and user, I'm going to guess that, as a simple fixed blade, it's going to speak to a lot of people in that department as well. Not to everybody, but this is absolutely one of the nicest fixed blades that I have ever had on the channel. At $190, I don't have a problem with that. This is really nice. This screams $190 all day. And I don't have a problem with it. Some people are going to have reservations with it not being made in the United States, and that's fine. We have plenty of alternatives where people can go and pick up what they want. But gosh, I don't know why I snoozed on this. There was something else, I think, at the time that I was like, I want to go ahead and fork over the $200 for this, right? But I shouldn't have. I should have gone ahead. I'm hoping that they do more of these, and I hope that they offer them in different colors of micarta. This is nice. Normally, I don't go for a brown scale, all right? This is kind of a dark brown burlap micarta, but I think it looks good. I think if they did this in like an OD green and a black, just giving those basic 3, right? Your simple brown, green, black. I think it would be fantastic. I love the polishing on it, the comfort, everything. There's really nothing for me to critique here. As far as what I look for in a fixed blade, as somebody who, if he was going to use a fixed blade, would use it for very simple things, right? If I did go camping or hiking, which I don't do it often, but periodically, right? Maybe once a year, something like that, twice a year. What I do use my fixed blades for and my knives for is, home improvement projects, right? Outside of the house, inside of the house, right? I definitely am carrying a knife, and this is going to fit well in some situations for that too. But if I was going to do that, right, as a person who is an enthusiast collector and user, right, simple knife user, yeah, this nails every single thing. There's not a lot going on here, so there's less to critique. But for as far as what is available to critique, I honestly can't find any flaws with this. There's going to be things like the steel or like the grind that are going to create more or less of a problem for each individual person. Some people might want texturing on their handle scales so that they can hold on to it better. Some people might want a more definitive handle shape so that they don't feel like they're going to slip off of it. Those are preference things. But as far as, if you want my opinion on this, which maybe you do if you're watching this video, yeah, I can't critique this, guys. I can't. What I'm saying is I'm unable to find any specific flaws with it. I think this was perfectly crafted, and I'm a huge fan of it. Easy, simple, short review. I hope that you guys got the detail you want. The MBK Fieldtrekker is fantastic, and thank you again to Abby Normal for sending this in for me to take a look at. This was a joy. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.